Today, I explain why the denominator matters to anybody that knows me well, and also y'all that follow me on social media. The 30-year Treasury yield topped 5.33%. This is the highest that it's been in 19 years. And the 30-year yield is essentially driving how much money the government has to essentially try to pay in interest to sovereigns, to large institutions in order to incentivize them to want to buy US debt. This is very important to understand. This is where it gets even more interesting. The 10-year yield is what drives and influences the rate that you pay on your student loan, your mortgage, etc. Any consumer debt is driven by the 10-year yield. Now, this morning, the 10-year yield was at about 4.33%, and by the end of this afternoon, it shot up to like 4.75%. The bond market will tell you everything you need to know in a credit-based system. Oftentimes, people look at the stock market all-time highs and they think, oh, all is well in the financial system because the stock market is reaching a new all-time high. But that's more so a function of how many dollars exist in the system, the amount of money that's printed, and all of those dollars flow into the stock market and it inflates the stock market up. It's just math. The cost of servicing the debt, the national deficit that is now over $40 trillion, is getting higher and higher because of the interest expense. And that interest expense is driven by the short-term rates, the yields. The short-term yields are still going up as well. I showed you what's going on with the 10-year yield. It's the same thing with the 5-year, the 3-year, and the 2-year. That U.S. interest expense is now at a record high of $1.4 trillion on the deficit. This has literally tripled since COVID. Think about that. And to add insult to injury, the interest will surpass the Social Security spending as the government's largest outlay for the first time ever, spiraling out of control. There's a variety of reasons why this is important, but if you look back in history and understand when the United States was on a gold standard, it was ended in August 15th, 1971. Richard Nixon took America off the gold standard. Do some research to understand why that happened. But you as an individual have to understand the difference between currency and hard money, things that can't be printed. Because at the end of the day, the stock market is going to always inflate up. There'll be booms, there'll be busts, it's always gonna inflate up. But you have to ask yourself, do my dollars buy me more things? Do I have more purchasing power? And in a debt-based system, your time and energy is constantly debased because dollars are printed out of thin air. And the bond market, like I showed you, is explaining and flashing all of the alarm signs in terms of what's going on. And this isn't just the case with the United States debt. This is the case with the Japanese debt, the UK, Germany, France, etc. There is a big debt bubble that's essentially building up right now. And you have to understand why this is relevant to you. I tell people this stuff all the time, and I show them when they look at something like gold, for instance, they think that gold is just going up, right? And then the dollar is just staying flat. But what's really happening is that the dollar is going down, and losing buying power, while gold is consistently remaining a store of value. The same thing is the case with Bitcoin. A little bit more volatile. However, one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin, one gold ounce is one gold ounce, or one silver coin is one silver coin. But $1 is not the same dollar from 2020 as it is now in 2026 because dollars are printed and your dollars buy you less and less over time. That's what happens in a credit-based system. You need to roll over more debt. You need to create more money, print more currency, and essentially that's the name of the game until the musical chairs stop. I'll leave you with a book recommendation. If you want to learn more about the history of the Federal Reserve, understanding hard money, what this stuff means, why it's relevant to you, you need to check this book out. It's very difficult to fully appreciate the solutions until you truly understand the problem. So if you take anything away from what I'm saying, remember that the denominator matters. The supply of dollars that exist in the economy will always increase as long as people want to go get mortgages, student loans, car notes, etc., because we live in a debt-based system. You as an individual can save in things that can't be printed to protect yourself, to give you more buying power in the future. Unless you just essentially want to collect dollars that debase, that's essentially the only other alternative. So keep that in mind. Don't trust everything that I just say. Go verify it for yourself. Do research and just study because the bond market is telling you everything that you need to know. It's not good.